Hey y'all, I just wanted to come and talk to y'all. Cailinn Williams here. I wanted to talk to y'all about how the more we communicate, the less we really say. Now, I really want you to think about that. How does that even make sense? The more we communicate, the less we say. How does that make sense? And I'm going to tell you this. It's because, one, words have value. Uh, Two, your worth and what you say equal up to value. And number three, the power of silence. So let's start off with the value of words. So people say a lot of words and they can say a lot of elaborate things and they never mean anything. Somebody can say the most elaborate sentences with the most high level words and say nothing all at the same time. So when people are talking, they can either add to your life, they can add value to your life, they can add advice, they can add resources, knowledge, wisdom to your life, or they can subtract when they're speaking to you. And what I mean by subtract is basically wasting your time. They subtracted time from your life because you'll never get those minutes back. You'll never get those seconds back. You'll never get those hours back. People subtract. They can add or subtract value by their words. Okay? Now I want to also get into your worth in what you say. We all have value. We all have worth. But a lot of people's worth declines when they keep talking. You can see somebody and you're like, "Wow, that person looks so smart. That person looks highly educated." But then they get to talking and then as soon as they start talking, it's everything you just said went out the water because their value declined because they started talking about nothing. They started talking about absolutely nothing. And so when you have people who you'll see it a lot, people who are very high level, they don't have to say much to have an impact. And then you'll see people who are not as high level. I don't really want to say low level, but people who are not as high level, losers. They say a lot. They talk a big game, but none of those words mean none of those words mean anything. They say they're going to do this, they say they're going to do that, but where's the action put into that? And that's kind of going off on a tangent, but I mean, it goes into that of how you have low level people who talk a big game and none of those actions are put into play. But then you have high level people who don't say much, most of the times don't tell people what they're going to be doing, and they don't say much, but they accomplish much. So now I want to get into the power of silence, right? Somebody once said that silence is golden. It's like your golden egg. Look at this. Look at it this way. The less you say, the more you know, and the the more you say, the less you know. And I'm going to explain that to you. So, my father, for example, when I ask my father a question, he does not answer immediately. A whole 2 minutes pass by before he answers my question. I'll go up to him and be like, "Hey, Daddy, why is the sky blue?" And there will be a 2 minute pause before the question is answered. And when I was younger and I used to ask him questions and he wouldn't immediately answer, I would end up trying to walk away. I would stand there, see that he's not listening to me because he's just so busy with his schedule, and then I would walk away. But as soon as I am about to leave, that's when he speaks. that's when he's going to answer the question. Because in his mind, my dad doesn't just speak the first thing that comes in his mind. When we're speaking, we have to go through an editing and revision process in our head. We have to edit, revise, and publish the things we say before it comes out of our mouths. So if somebody asks me, what do I want to do in my life? I'm not just going to say, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to process the question. I'm going to gather my thoughts. I'm going to edit and revise that in my head. This is all happening in your head. And then and only then, when it is good, that's when I'll say it. That's when I'll say edit. Think about it. Edit and revise. Say. And the more you do this, the easier it becomes and the faster this process can work in your head. But we live in such a fast-paced society that people want things like that. People want answers and questions like that. They want it right away and they're not used to waiting. So sometimes you just got to slow down. You have to think. You have to edit and revise in your head, and you have to say. And that goes back into the less you say, the more you know. The more you say, the less you know. If somebody asks you a question and you have to give them a whole 2 paragraphs of an answer, it means you really don't know much about that topic. But because it means you don't know much about that topic because you're trying to do so much convincing with your words. But if somebody asks you a question and you can give them 1 to 2 sentences, oh, you are really leveled up on your subject. You know it. You don't need to go into all of these tangents to get them to believe whatever answer you're giving them. Because you know the subject, you know your why, you know why it's true. I mean, it's just about whatever y'all are talking about. So remember, silence is golden. When you talk to somebody, you can add or you can subtract from their lives. You can add value with the words you say, or you can subtract by saying a bunch of nothing. And your worth and what you say equals value. First, you got to remember you have worth. So knowing that you have worth, you'll be more careful about the things you say. So yeah, the more you communicate, the less you really say, because you're doing so much convincing that it's kind of like what you're saying is devalued. What you're saying doesn't really hold weight because you seem so unsure of what you're saying that you have to say more to convince more. But if you're so sure of what you're saying, you won't have to do that much convincing. So with that being said, just remember when you take this with you home today or wherever you're going tonight, the less you say, the more you know. The more you say, the less you know. I'm going to say it again. The less you say, the more you know. The more you say, the less you know. All right, any questions? Come on, the floor is open for questions if anybody wants to ask. What do we got? What do we got? No questions? All right then. Well, that's all I have time for tonight, y'all. Thank y'all for listening to me. Hopefully y'all got something from this and you can implement it in your life. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.